Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Denis St John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two. And we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin. Welcome to Buffy Virgin, a spoiler-free Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. We're going to be talking romance and magnetic trains with Season 5, Episode 15, I Was Made to Love You. I'm your host, monster expert Denis St John, and we are joined by a special reoccurring guest and friend of the pod, David Yoder.
I'm back. Hello.
Thought we got rid of him, but he's back. And why don't you guys introduce yourself from most to least likely to build a love robot?
Well,
my name's Michael.
It's a rush. There's a rush, huh?
My name's John. I don't think I would try to build a love robot, but I have built robots before.
My name's Travis. I don't think I'd build a love robot either.
My name is Michael. I'm happily married. I've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer up to Season 5, Episode 15. I Was Made to Love You. And that's quite a bit of Buffy to say that I'm still a virgin, but I haven't seen what happens afterwards.
All right. Before we get into Episode 15, let's throw it back to reactions to Season 5, Episode 10, Into the Woods.
Audience reactions.
So we're going to start with over on Twitter, at Renan Oz says, actually, you're wrong according to Marsters about why Spike stuck around. The fans demanded he stay. He was meant to die in Season 2. I will say that him not fitting in made sense in Season 4, and I think wears thin in Season 5. I think Riley leaving opens air a little. And she also says, also firm team sister and not team Riley. He's never truly comfortable with being an equal partner, which I think is a good read. Also, screw Xander for inserting himself into Buffy's relationship in that way whilst being wrong. He is actively placing blame on Buffy and her actions for him making these choices. So I think we were more team, or at least I was more team Xander for that episode and called out for that. I should always know better than to be supportive of Xander.
Yeah, Xander came off much better that episode, but I do see her point, definitely.
Yeah, she's totally right. He is completely inserting himself into other people's relationships.
But like, it's also sort of what friendship is, right? Isn't all advice predicated on putting yourself in someone else's shoes and telling them other people what you would do?
The good ship friendship. And at Dingo Action says, I'm just halfway through your sode and have so many reactions. Sad face.
What were they? Tell us.
I don't know.
Dingo Action, what did you see?
Thiago Lisi over on YouTube says, I agree about Spike. Get ready to be attacked by his fans, though. Lol. Love the podcast, guys. Heart. So thank you. Yes, we are going to be attacked by Spike's fans again. Garant Thatcher says, Le Spike, I...
Yeah, I think there's some typos in this one.
Okay. With the exception of Fool for Love, he hadn't really had much screen time. I think it's because they didn't know what they wanted to do with Spike, only that he and Buffy had great chemistry and the actor is charismatic and an interesting character. They weren't sure how far to take it and changed it from writer to writer, which, yeah, I totally think is true. Like, yeah, the Spike relationship changes from episode to episode, writer to writer. Buffy should have ended up with Faith, in my opinion. Hell yeah. And Silver Spike says, quotes us, I don't think Spike needs to be in the show. Oh, you do surprise me. Lol. Thank God none of you were around to write for this show. You would have killed it stone dead in an instant, in my opinion.
I just want to say I agree with that completely. Like, if we were actual writers for this show, yeah, we would have destroyed it. I mean, I think there's a big difference between, the kind of person who wants to like have opinions about a TV show and the kind of person who ought to actually be writing one. Like, I don't think that we should no one should entrust us with like an actual production. If anyone was thinking about that, please stop thinking it now.
I mean, I will defend that I'm a writer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Dennis, of course, you are a writer and are an excellent writer of wonderful stories. My point is only that we're in a different mode than that.
Yeah. This is not my writer's hat I'm putting on. Call this critical analysis is maybe overstating it, but my podcast analysis hat is different from my writer hat.
Yeah. But those are two very different things, to analyze or critique versus creating something. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would create this. Right? I mean, this particular show.
I'll say like this show was so fundamental to like my early writing style that even when we started this podcast, it was embarrassing for me to hear my own early writing style in the beginning of the show. But I think I've changed a lot as a writer since then, and developed my own style. But it like definitely has its like origins in the show in like ways that are like still to this day distracting. But yeah, obviously we would be creating something else.
So we agree with you, Silver Spike. Put that in your internet and smoke it.
All right. That was a lot of reactions. But so thanks everybody for reacting with us. And now let's move on to the summary.
The summary.
Hey fellas, can't get a date? Looking for a love of your own? Well, here comes April. April is more than a mechanical sex toy. She's your new girlfriend. She was made to love you. Hand-built by Warren Industries, April is very pretty, a good conversationalist.
Beep boop. Have you seen Warren?
Totally passes for human, and is programmed in 6 standard positions, with optional neck rubs and 4 fetish modes. Just turn her on and she'll turn you into a believer.
Beep boop. I love you.
April, she's perfect. Now's your time for love. Aprilbot cannot pass as human. Do not introduce Aprilbot to friends or family as if she's a real girl. Keep her in your dorm room. Hide your shame. Warning. Aprilbot is 100 times stronger than a regular person. Aprilbot does not obey the Asimov laws of robotics. Do not attempt anything sexual with Aprilbot if she is not your girlfriend. In clinical trials, Aprilbot has thrown sexually aggressive vampires through windows. Do not try to calm Aprilbot down. Do not break up with Aprilbot. Do not date someone else if you own Aprilbot. April may kill your next girlfriend. Aprilbot can self-charge unless you can't. Warren Industries is not responsible for injuries, broken windows, hurt feelings, or snap necks. In conclusion, love is too dangerous an emotion for automatons. Do not buy or build Aprilbot. April, she's perfect. All right, let's move on to Great Lines.
Great lines.
Okay, I really enjoyed this line from Anya where she says, at first it was confusing. Just like the idea of computers. Like, whoa, I'm 1,100 years old. I had trouble adjusting to the idea of Lutherans. That's so great. I have nothing more to say. It was like kind of like the sense of like living in the future that we have with smartphones. Like the Reformation must have felt that way.
It's shocking to me how like computer illiterate Tara sounds in this episode. She's like, you can do all that in a regular computer? It's like, what?
Well, this is like 2000 or 2001, right? So it's early internet days. Very
right.
Trading
Plus,
stocks.
like, you saw her family. She's from like the coal mines of West Virginia.
Yeah.
she was raised in the village, right? I mean, that's
new recommendation. I recommend no one watch The Village.
Hey, The Village is great for like half an hour.
Village.
It might be time to take a fresh look at M. Night Shyamalan. Maybe he's aged better than I would have expected.
The Village is the greatest guerrilla cosplay movie ever filmed. Those people didn't even know they were in a movie. I'm just kidding.
all right. I guess I have the next line. Giles, I'm not going to attempt to do the accent just because I'm not good at that. But we are not your friends. We are not your way to Buffy. There is no way to Buffy. Clear out of here. And Spike, this thing, get over it. So I just thought that was a great line. And I know we often focus on like the humorous lines, but just the intensity of that and like the message that, like, I feel like if you're not on Spike's team or side or whatever, like as a viewer, it's nice to have a character like directly confront him about this stuff and just be like, hey, cut that shit out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, just like, at the beginning of the series, Giles was so like wishy-washy and stuff. To see like he can really like lay the hammer down when he needs to.
Yep. Bamf Giles.
Right. And then I snuck in a second quote here because I was kind of like leaving it open for someone else to grab, but I just felt like it was such a good line. I had to take it. It's Buffy. I don't know about you guys, but I've had it with super strong little women who aren't me.
That's a great one. Yeah, and I took this, I guess, just a funny line between where Tara's like, oh, do you have any books on robots? And Giles says, oh, yes, dozens. Enormous amount of research we should be doing before. No, I'm lying. I haven't got squat. I just like to see Xander squirm. I love that because I also, I was surprised. Like, I was like, there can't be that much. Not in this old-timey library, unless they're like
ancient robots from the
homunculus kind of stuff here, or whatever you think a robot is.
All these steampunk books I have in the back. Descartes
did have an automaton daughter, according to rumor. I feel like that's something Giles would have a book about.
Wow, that's a great premise for a weird horror movie.
Yeah, his real daughter died, and he built an automaton simulation of her. Is the like story?
Whoa, like in Caprica,
the genre of sci-fi that's like trying to replace your dead kid.
I almost threw AI as a rec just for Jude Law, but then I was like, you got to sit through a lot of that movie just for the enjoyment of Jude Law.
I like that movie.
Oh man, I want to change one of my recommendations now after this talk, though. But I'll save that.
So I have two quotes. One is Anya saying, "You should see the website I designed for the magic shop. It's got a big picture of me." She's so amazing. And at the party, Xander, when they're looking at the robot girl, somehow I don't think a girl that looks like that will be lonely for long. And then Willow says, "Definitely not." "Oh, not for me." And then starts great comedic, great comedic timing.
Good stuff. Yeah, I like Willow doesn't quite know how to handle herself around the ladies sometimes. I like Xander's line of, "Oh dear God, I'm the grown-up who sees the world through my job. I'm like my Uncle Dave the plumber. I must be shunned." I related to that line. That's something I struggle with.
That whole scene is great because it's just the recognition of someone else's talent and like the skill. There's a weird, like the thing you thought someone does and they're doing it exceptionally well. Like it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like Xander having pride in his work and Buffy just not like recognizing it. She's like, "You're making this up, right?" All right, let's go on to the kill count.
The kill count.
So I counted one dead robot, one human who remarkably survives what sounds like their entire spinal cord being crushed, and one mom who's just resting on the couch. So that's what we got to look forward to. But let's move on to weird noticings and trivia.
Weird noticings.
So as soon as I saw this strange new lady, I wrote "new character alert" in my Buffy notes. I don't know if she's going to stick around, but just she got like a little bit of a dramatic introduction, which was kind of exciting in a world where I'm anticipating everyone to be involved with Glory in some way or another. And so, and it wasn't that. And she's a young lady, so high school age. So I was like, is this, or it could be college. It's like, is this the arrival of a new friend? Obviously plays out differently, but I was so excited for this new character.
It's exciting. Mike was excited.
Sorry, that's it. That's my weird noticing is like, new lady, what's going on?
Someone new.
I ask, why Is it necessary for Xander to be in the puffy suit?
Yeah, Xander built a dummy for explicitly this purpose.
I mean, besides the obvious like comedic reasons,
Yeah, I mean that's the real reason. Thank you.
Well, maybe my embarrassing tell would be that it gave me an idea of like what it would be like if Sarah Michelle Gellar hugged me, a fat man, and rest her head on my man chest, I guess. It was
Man
like,
chest.
because I got my own sumo suit that I'm just wearing naturally. But.
I don't know how to feel about that one, Dave. That's
Interesting stuff. We could get into that a little bit. I sometimes feel like I have like a weird body dysphoria where I describe my own body as being a fat suit, and they're like, no, it's actually your body. It's not a suit you're wearing, you know. John.
You're both extremely handsome guys. Please stop it.
We'll do positive affirmations throughout the whole show. So
Is this not the fat shaming podcast? I thought I was on. I have to. Let me get on that.
Oh, it's a big internet. That's probably a thing. Okay. So I don't know. I've never been a doctor, but Ben's a doctor. He's going to undergrad parties on campus, and he doesn't know anybody there. The only person he knows best is Buffy. He doesn't know her well enough to actually come there with her. It seems a bit creepy. I don't like Ben's vibe at this party.
Well,
we need
remember,
a real doctor to analyze this.
Remember, Ben's like a terrible doctor. And he doesn't give good advice. So I'm not surprised he's acting in a really bizarre way.
He was a doctor or just like a nurse or like working through college as...
They've been defining him as intern, which I assume means he's like at the beginning of his residency.
Yeah.
So he's a straight up
how old
doctor.
would he be?
Roughly. He could be
Scrubs.
27.
Yeah, that's too old to be hanging out at the party that's being held in the lobby of the dorm.
To be fair, the entire main cast looked too old for that party now.
That's true.
And Spike is there, and he's hundreds of years old, so you know.
Yeah, but Spike is creepy overtly.
Yeah.
Just that party in general is just a kind of a weird vibe because it's like it's at the dorm in the lobby.
Yeah.
And they've got beer. They've got a keg. They also have a cooler full of Red Bull, which is gross. That's just, I mean, that is a thing you would have at a college party probably, but it's just gross because college parties
On my
are gross.
college campus, the Red Bull car would drive in a lot and give undergrads like just
Gross.
can after can of Red Bull.
Yeah, that's gross.
And they hired like the attractive women to be like passing.
I
it
remember
out
that. Yeah. And then there's also like a tiki theme to all of this, which I mean, doesn't read as false or anything. It's just college is gross.
It's just weird to me that this show still has the remnants of like, this is the second year of college.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Did you see the giant like punch bowl that like you could drown in? That was like a clamshell or whatever. Like,
it's like they just there was a bunch of leftover props at the Fox television studios, and they're like,
our pilot for Tiki didn't go through.
Guys, we need to tread carefully. Mike's already talked to us about the changes to his local tiki bar.
That's right. No, I'm not. Thank you. I'm gonna avoid that stream of consciousness. It's all right. You're safe.
I'm sorry I made fun of you for that.
But there's strange drinks going on at Angel at the same time. Like in the episode of Blood Money I just watched, they're hanging out, like Gunn, Cordelia, and Wesley drinking Steel Reserve, and it's just like an odd scene.
All right. Intense close-up of Chex Mix. Like every time I watch this episode, that shot like really like bothers me because I'm like, why does it exist?
it was like product placement or something almost. If there was a box there.
It feels like the shot that you would only have this close-up for a really specific reason. Like if later in the show, April gets like shoved through a fine mesh that looks like that or something.
I may know a reason. I don't know if anyone else listened to the commentary. I have some notes on the commentary later, but the writer for the episode said that the scene for the party, the music's really loud, so it's hard to hear some of the lines of dialogue. So like they were worried that Anya's line about like how the Chex Mix is made was like getting lost, so they needed a close up, maybe just to show what it looked like, so it connected.
It just looked like a shot from a different show. It was like
Chex Mix, the Hunger Slayer.
I mean, Chex Mix is a quality product. I don't blame them for giving it like a showcase.
Hand woven, yeah.
let's talk about Ben's flirting style.
So I just noticed this like weird, like I feel like Buffy's kind of recycling the dialogue a little bit. So in this episode, Ben says, I just really like coffee. I think coffee might be worth it. And I'd like to get to know coffee better. And this is just a complete rehash of Buffy trying to flirt in the episode Faith, Hope, and Trick in season 3. She says, come to think of it, I don't think I've given a fair chance to Buster Keaton. I like what I've seen of him so far. And so she does, it's the exact same flirting.
Keaton is key. It's funny you bring that up because like in this episode, Buffy like erases Scott from existence because she's like, I've had exactly 2 boyfriends, which is like, obviously she's talking about Riley and Angel. She erases Scott.
I mean, was Scott ever really a boyfriend though? I feel like they went out like once.
Yeah, fine. Also, I think Buffy is stealing her own flirting style from Reptile, or I think it's actually Cordelia's flirting style, yeah, from Reptile Boy. Where she's like, the boys like the laughing. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, that's an amazing callback.
It is. I really like that April just immediately fails the Turing test.
Everyone's, it's like, you think she's a robot? Yeah, she's a robot. That's a good joke.
I guess this is probably a prediction related question, but did the bronze just get damaged by April?
Is the bronze in this episode?
Did you mean the dorm or the party?
Yeah, they're in the dorm room.
They're never at the bronze?
There is no bronze in this entire episode, Michael.
Oh my gosh, I just made that the bronze in my mind.
There's the bronze, and they were also briefly at the espresso pump.
All right, never mind. It was not damaged.
Or sorry, not
just
the bronze,
humans.
but the dorm and the espresso pump.
So
I read that I'm sorry, you said that she failed the Turing test. It also looks like she fails the Bechdel test as well.
Yeah, it's very true.
I mean, she literally talks about nothing besides
failing all kinds of tests here.
Yeah, that was funny.
I guess I was more thinking of the Asimov like rule of robotics of like, not to not harm humans or whatever.
Yeah, she's way off of that one as well.
Yeah. You know what? Nobody builds robots that obey the Asimov's rules anymore. It's disappointing.
So Xander mentions, as Dennis pointed out in his quote, that he's got this uncle that's a plumber, Dave the plumber. And I think you should go into business with him because, construction, plumbing, they just need another relative that's like an electrician and they could just like build houses all together.
Yeah. He's doing all right, though. Have you seen his apartment?
Yeah, with his trash stuff that he has in there, as you described.
So here's a fun zoom in and enhance. If you look at the magic box, there's this weird stained glass window. It's the first image I have down there in the document. Bottom left, in memory of James and Isabel Morrison by their daughter Mary. And the stained glass window is some weird iconography of a ladder with a ribbon and a spear crossed with a spear with a brain on it, as far as I can tell. Or possibly a butt.
It looks like a nib to me, not a spear. But
Okay.
I could be wrong.
But the other one is definitely like a brain impaled on a shish kebab skewer.
Interesting.
Or possibly just like a disembodied butt.
Maybe they were a writer. It's like the pen and the brain.
Yeah, I my theory is that the set dressers like got this at like a antique store or something.
It is.
I thought that was a paint roller, not a brain. I guess maybe I was not looking at it close enough.
A paint roller.
Like, the thing to roll.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that to me.
It's definitely got a crevice in the middle that could either be a cheek
Do
or
you not
a,
use brains to roll your paint?
Dennis, can you draw this and then tweet it out and find out what the world thinks this thing is?
Yeah, we could do
or
that.
Screenshot it.
This will go up on
Screenshot
Twitter.
would be easier, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, screenshot.
All right, now that we're done with brains, I guess we can go on to other brains. Warren made a functioning AI and like a robot with all the internal robotic stuff in 2000 or 2001. Like, he needs to patent some of that technology. Like, but again, money. Maybe that's my only focus on this episode. Is like, Xander should be doing this business. Warren should be doing this business. Like, there's a lot of businesses that should be done.
I think you'll find that DARPA actually had functioning AI as early as like the 1960s.
So you think Warren just stole some DARPA code to make his invention?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a TED clone.
Everything about Warren's
That's true.
invention.
It is a TED. It is just as advanced as TED.
Yeah.
Warren as an inventor is such a mess.
It's
It
amazing.
totally-
He appears to have built this in his dorm room, for what Warren describes. Like, he doesn't even have like a on-campus lab or anything.
Yeah.
Did he not have a roommate? I mean, I think they would notice that. going
No,
on.
I think it's like clearly stolen code. Like, he doesn't know how this code works. It's like when you
Oh.
copy paste code, you know, when you're a script kiddie,
Yeah.
right? And then you just make a thing and you don't know how it works.
Yep. It's just like git clone girlfriend robot.
Oh, I just need the parts. Great. I don't know where he gets these amazing parts though, but
We're
not
told
my
that-
problem.
We're told that he built it on his own. Maybe he crowdsourced it with other college students that were also like doing Robotnik studies or whatever.
Robotnik.
Dr. Robotnik? I don't know. What do
Is
people
there
study?
like a
worst
dumpster?
crossover ever?
Is there like a special hazardous waste dump at the hospital where it just has human skin and
Yeah,
stuff?
really.
I mean, if there was, somebody should have told the mad scientists from season 2. It would have saved them a lot of effort.
they're like at it really like fucking hacking together, you know, like an old football player really struggling, right? Like to try and animate, you know, their dead friend. Warren's able to casually put something together with old DARPA code, right? Like these great minds need to come together. They're like on the opposite sides of the campus, I guess.
Yeah, they were all in high school together. They just didn't communicate.
No, everybody has a reason to build either some simulation of a person that has died or a fantasy person.
How many mad scientists did the Sunnydale class of 1999 like put out?
They must have had a bomb-ass bio teacher.
Yeah.
Super inspirational bio teacher.
Who mysteriously disappeared.
Did the praying mantis lady teach bio?
Yeah, but she was a sub though.
Oh,
Because she
bummer.
ate the original one.
Yeah.
That's where he went. The guy
Yeah.
that taught them all mad science.
Remember, because he was starting to reach Buffy. She was actually going to work on her studies, and then he disappeared.
All right. I guess I have the next really big chunk. I just pulled a lot of things from the commentary, as I mentioned. The writer for this episode was Jane Epsonson. And I just found interesting that she pointed out a few things that were like specifically like Joss Whedon, like lines or input. So like sometimes like, you know, like we kind of attribute like a lot of this show in general to Joss Whedon, but like just to see like specifically like nuggets that were from him. I don't know what it says overall or in general, but so for the opening, when Xander's in the fat suit, he pitched the line of "Now you choose to hug me," and also Buffy's line later when she's dancing with Xander, "This is way better than hanging out with a good-looking guy," or whatever it is to that extent. So a lot
What
of
is
Denis
going on?
to Xander, and then his idea for the episode in general was let's cast a beautiful woman who everyone realizes is a robot right away, but Warren doesn't know that everyone knows. You know, so that's kind of the stinger for the where he like, no, I have to tell you, you might be surprised, but she's a robot. And also, I guess all those things that you see point of view from April's robot vision with all the programming codes. Some of those were from Joss specifically. She said like positions 1 through 6, which anyway.
I like that. I guess we'll get into that later, but I like that she's clearly running on Windows. Like, it's
Wait,
got
why
all
do you
these
say
old
that?
Folders. Oh, just because of all these old folders, right?
Oh, I guess, yeah, it does have that kind of, yeah, I guess the icons look Windowsy.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you called this out, Yoder, as a quote earlier on, but Giles telling Spike to move on was freaking great. It feels great to hear someone be an adult and tell him to stop it. You're not getting to Buffy. This line could have made sense anytime during this entire season.
Yeah.
Glad it got said. I mean, especially after Riley's out of the picture, like anytime. I feel like, did Giles say shades of this last season? Oh, well.
Yeah. He might have, or he should have anyway.
I feel like when Spike was living in his apartment or living in his house, I feel like Giles might have said something, but it wasn't as super clear about what he wanted.
I did think it was kind of harsh extra, though, coming from Giles when Giles was turned into a demon. Like Xander was like basically, or not Xander, goddammit, Spike was like, you know, the only one that could understand him and like kind of helped him redeem himself in that episode.
That was a year ago, man.
Well, I'm just saying.
They had good memories too. Yeah.
To say like we're not friends, but like when I was a demon, we hung out together. Like, what does that mean?
When I was on drugs. Yeah, you're a bad friend for me.
You're my demon friend. You're not my real friend.
So there's a couple scenes where Xander just seems like really off this episode. I'm like, is Xander okay? Like,
what do you mean by
thing-
that? I didn't catch that.
Like in the scene where like where Giles is like, oh no, I'm just kidding. I'm just went to see Xander squirm. His reaction is just like, funny, charming and funny. Like,
Okay.
usually Xander would be like, oh, I'm gonna quit back or something, but he just has this like non-reaction to it.
I think he's thinking about Robot Girlfriend a lot in this episode.
Maybe
Like,
that's it.
Yeah, he seems like really unfaithful to Anya in this episode.
Yeah, but Anya's okay. She's cool.
Yeah.
She's secure. You know, they've
Yeah.
moved past that kind of jealousy.
Saying you're cool with that and being cool with that are two different things, I feel.
Fair point.
Yoder?
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe this should have gone in deep stuff or whatever, but I think that Dawn and April need to have like a long talk together, maybe about like what existence means, because they each have very unique point of views. You know, with April being created as a robot and Dawn how she came into existence.
Yeah, they both have a sense of they're both struggling with what does it mean to be authentically alive.
Yeah. I just like Buffy and her complete lack of secret identity, when she finds Warren, she's just like, my name is Buffy Summers. You know who I am. Like,
Yeah, but he was
That's a
Sunnydale class of '99, so he does. He voted to give her that Protector Award, probably.
I think he did, yeah. She just
I don't
swings
know.
her name around like it's a big threat, you know? I like it.
I don't know if this should have come later, but do they just leave April's body on the swing or like what? And also,
This e-waste problem.
well, is she dead or does she just need a recharged battery, a new battery? And also, is this the first time like Buffy's defeated a villain by just like talking them to death or like letting at least her battery die that way?
I mean, she knows from watching Star Trek that's how you defeat an artificial intelligence. Is you give it you talk to it, you give it a paradox.
Or Kelsey Grammer, if you're watching Simpsons, just have him sing like the entire track to HMS Pinafore, right?
Yeah, this is just a TV show. Like, what if that was like a 6-hour battery life? Because she's like just sitting there talking. She's on like low operation mode, you know? Like,
Yeah, I think at the very end, once her battery dies, Buffy just kicks her head off, right? What is the point of building a sex robot that is that strong? This robot is stronger than Buffy.
You don't know what he's into?
Well, we have some
Position
we have
1
some
through
clues.
6.
Yeah, position 1 through 6.
but there's
also
like fetish.
fetish.gfd files. There's what else? Praise.gfd, which is that one makes me like my heart hurt a little
This
bit.
is like this is like incel. Like this is like predicting incels by 20 years.
Yeah,
totally.
for real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
know
we
why
have
she
these-
needs to be that strong. It seems.
Well,
But
there's-
also, like, why did Ted need to be that strong? It's just part of being a robot.
Yeah, I guess it's just part of being a robot. But Ted being that strong makes sense because it's Ted's evil plan. Like,
'Cause
I
it's a
think this
man.
just speaks to what we were talking about earlier. Of like, Warren built this thing that he doesn't really comprehend. Like,
Right.
he probably did not know he built that strong a
It
robot.
probably
He never-
is Ted. He probably just found Ted after like Ted was decommissioned and just like reskinned it. Like,
I was imagining like a spin-off show where it's like Ted is like April's dad or something, and they're like, you know, the two
it's
robots.
like a reverse Small Wonder where everybody in the family is a robot except one of them.
And they just got this closet full of humans they've kidnapped and killed. How's your new boyfriend? Weak.
Or like, are all Whedon shows in the same universe? Because like, did Warren go on to create Dollhouse? Like, you know, like all the robotic dolls on that show.
Warren went on to create the show Dollhouse
Oh, okay.
because he's an evil scientist.
He's the showrunner.
Warren is a big fan of Dollhouse.
So that show exists before Buffy in the Buffy universe. I get it.
He's like, I don't get the problem people have with the show. It's perfect.
So yeah, I think I may have brought up Guy Delisle's doll before, but man, that like comic book from 30 years ago, whatever, has like amazing insight into this kind of thing where someone creates they call it a doll. They don't imply a lot of circuitry like this one, but like a sex doll and like what the meaning behind that is. I feel like they get into just like the level 1 of kind of what a sex doll is in this kind of episode, which is like everyone's very attracted to it. Everybody wants to be with it, you know, but they're not like going for it and having people try and like take it away, you know, like no one's trying to claim this sex robot for themselves really in this episode, which is kind of the Guy
Spike, like
Delisle
it.
problem. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Spike kind of hits on her though.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so does Xander sort of, and so does Willow.
But they
Everybody
don't
sort of hits.
actually like everybody like once they like get what's going on, like basically everybody thinks it's creepy. Like nobody, which is maybe more realistic, right? Because like what's your opinion of people who have sex dolls? Like probably not very high. Like even if you have a live and let live, like, you know, let them do what they want attitude, it's probably still.
But
Little
it
skeevy.
is, I guess, rather respectful of all the citizens in Sunnydale that they're just like, oh, this is someone else's sex robot. I'm not going to do anything to this sex robot. That would be wrong. Is that your point, Michael? Or
I mean, sort of. I feel like the point from Guy Delisle's doll is like they go past this point very quickly of like, hey, this thing's really sexy and now I want it. And now what happens after that? Versus, this is very superficial in how far it goes with like what the meaning. I mean, it doesn't care about the sex part. It doesn't care about the sex doll and attractiveness and like the misogyny of the male point of view, right? It's more like, yeah, like you just said, like it's somebody else's sex doll. Excuse me, I made a mistake. It's like more comical and fun, but it's interesting to see a variation on that. And I'm excited to talk more about this in Deep Themes because like this is such an awesome topic to play with, and then for it to like power down so quickly, and then even the Warren character creating like a Frankenstein. I mean, not a Frankenstein, but creating a sex doll that's like too powerful for him to understand is kind of amazing and like a good metaphor for sex in general, like trying to control sex. But let's get into it in a bit.
Yeah.
This episode also has a couple other overwhelming things going on in it.
what?
That I think we'll talk about later, I guess.
So I think it's when Buffy's talking to Xander while Xander's fixing the window and describing all his carpentry skills, but she's wearing a scarf. And you guys had a prediction earlier, or not a prediction, but like just kind of a general topic about when Riley was wearing the turtleneck. So I'm like, my theory is like, was Buffy bitten by a vampire and we just didn't see it somewhere in this episode?
Yeah, a lot of other stuff happened this week that wasn't robot related. I just didn't get to talk about it.
Yeah, we just didn't get screen time for that. So
Yeah, I think whenever anyone's wearing a scarf, it's because of a vampire. Yeah.
maybe her already existing bites were like starting to like seep or like, they got infected or something. That's really gross. I'm sorry.
No, it's like the passion of the vampire, you know, like it's like a miracle. Like her bite marks will just bleed on their own, right?
Ooh. Mike, do you want to say your last thing? Or
Oh, sure. Since we're not going to talk about it this week, probably. Sorry. Sorry. This is the most haunting ending to a Buffy episode that we've seen, and totally floored by that choice. I mean, I mostly rewatched that section a couple of times because I couldn't believe the choice, and emotionally really puts you in the position of what it might be like to find, you know, someone you love dead, which is just like, oh, it's just this quiet room and then a person is dead in it. And this is really haunting and excellent presentation. You know, I've never actually come across a dead body. Plenty of dead animals, though. And that kind of vibe is totally where you're at. So that was amazingly well done. That's a great emotional gift to the audience. And painful.
Yeah, I freaked out and I cried a little this time. At like that one, because I knew it was coming. It didn't lessen the impact at all. That is a rough bit of film.
There's a scene after Spike goes to get a robot made of Buffy. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying? I stopped watching. I was like, that's the end, right? That's the
Did you really?
adventure. No, I'm
okay.
just sorry. I was just trying to it's such a like a heavy, like you say, moment that I guess, and I remember this episode with that punch, but there's also a lot of fun with all the other stuff that happens before it. And I think this is like, it's like a callback almost to like a season 3 episode or something where like, you know, it's mostly just wacky hijinks for the most part.
Yeah. It's definitely the contrast that makes it effective, where you spend the entire episode watching one kind of thing, and all of a sudden the genre just like changes instantly. It's so much more effective. Like I just watched the new Tarantino film, and it has a moment like that where it's like the genre of the film changes suddenly, and it's way more effective than if the entire movie had been like that. Without any more spoilers than that.
yeah. All right. Let's do questions for the group.
Questions for the group.
Okay, so Buffy describes herself in a self-deprecating moment as having alarming strength and remarkable self-involvement. And I was curious, because that to me didn't read as entirely true. I don't think
she
of
has
Buffy,
alarming strength?
Buffy, she certainly has alarming strength. I don't feel like I wouldn't describe Buffy as self-involved. That's not the term I would use to describe her. I was wondering if you guys read that any differently.
I mean, I think she's also defining self-involvement as like involved in saving the world a lot.
Right.
And is this like really a flaw that she sees herself as having, or is this just like, this is what Riley kind of thrust on her of saying like, hey, this is your problem. You're not letting me in to be supportive for you. Right. And it's like, well, dude, I let you in more than like, you know, I would have before with anyone else. So like, maybe it's not on her.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean,
I think that's really smart. I really like that read, David. That's cool.
I think she is used to being the main character in her own show, which is a form kind of self-involvement.
But
right?
But it's not. I mean, again, I wouldn't use that term. I like she's got a lot of shit to deal with, and she deals with it. But self-involvement certainly not to the at the expense of caring about or taking care of other people, because she does a lot of taking care of other people. Particularly her family this season. So like it struck me as a little bit odd, because I feel like, you know, I'm all for being self-deprecating as a way of just, you know, communicating with other people, but that seemed a bit strange to me.
Yeah, no, I think we're all on side Buffy over Buffy's own opinions of herself. Come on, Buff.
I like that she would have taken Riley's opinion of her as her opinion of herself. I think that frequently happens when you get a judgment from someone else about what your behavior is, and you're like, I guess that's who I am.
Sure.
stupid middle managers of the world, stop it.
Middle managers, boyfriends are like the middle managers of your heart. It's like, oh no, my boyfriend went to Six
Boyfriends
Sigma.
are like the middle management of your heart. Like that should.
I mean, that's its own show. That's such a powerful message.
Mike, you got the next question.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some attention right now. So hold on a minute, but yeah, okay. So you magically get or create a beautiful, whatever your type is, robot girlfriend or boyfriend. How long do you keep said robot friend?
I think there's so much sunk cost into creating or buying a robot. Like, you definitely got to make that worth the investment, right? Like,
Okay, so
Are you saying you have to amortize this over a long period of time? Amor means love. Amor means love. So amortize this over many years.
I'm just saying, it seems like an incredible waste of your time and money and intelligence if you're building this. If you just are like,
So you wouldn't just leave it in a dorm room without breaking up with it? Is that what you're saying, Dennis? You want to just walk away from it?
I got a different take on this. All right, let's be real. The world's going to end in like 20 years, right? Let's get real. All right, you want to keep this robot
I mean,
as
as
long
we know
as
it, I disagree with the world's going to end thing. I think
society. I think there's an alarming chance for extinction within 100 years, etc.
Disagree.
So I think you keep this robot girlfriend, boyfriend for as long as friggin' possible. They can chop wood. They can fish for you. They can dive to the bottom of the ocean. They can carry you on their back. I think there's a lot of practical purposes outside of that situation.
do you think that in the post-apocalypse or like post-society, you're going to be able to charge this robot?
Well, it's
Well,
probably
they
the
didn't do-
same
they
as
didn't
like
do
an
any
electric car charging station, right? You just like.
You think those are going to be operational?
No, this thing probably runs on nuclear power. For all we know,
Oh
this
yeah,
is a
it's
nuclear
probably got a
power
nuclear
robot.
core. In fact, I
Yeah.
think there's a prediction about that.
I think
Yeah.
that's Terminator you're talking about. She obviously is charged with batteries.
Well, you get working on a battery solution. There's solar charging panels. I mean, you keep this thing for as long as friggin' possible because it's your one chess piece in the apocalypse, people.
That is not the read that I would have thought anyone would have on this.
Yeah,
question.
I wasn't really asking for the prepper scenario where this becomes your robo assistant carrying out your tasks.
I like how we're all
that's
just straight up ignoring what the intention of this question is. We're just
By the way, I love that as a young adult novel. I think it's a great premise of someone using a robot sex assistant to chop wood and find fish.
I mean, the young adult novel would be that you find a sex robot as like like an early teenager, and you don't have sex with it for many years as it accompanies you throughout the wilderness, and then after it's helped you for many years, then you develop a sexual relationship with the robot. I think that would be much weirder.
I think the really sad answer is that this wouldn't be a problem because you already wouldn't be running your sex robot 24 hours a day, right? Like you would need your sex robot, max 3-4 hours a day, and you'd turn it off.
3-4 hours. Oh,
I'm just saying because, I mean, not. I'm not that I'm Sting over here. My point is that it runs other files. There's also the back rubs file and the praise file. There's a lot of things going on beyond.
Yes, 2 hours and
beyond the
45 minutes
obvious.
of insulting me to my face, and then 15 minutes for makeup.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You probably, if you had
it's a
such
lot of
thing,
screen time.
you would turn it off when you went to work to begin with. So I don't think that this idea of it running all day long, pining for you when you're not in your dorm room, I don't think that would actually happen.
There's
Which is
no evidence
more,
she
I realize
has
is
an
more
off button.
brutal. It's like
Oh,
it's
yeah,
more
that's
brutal
true.
than even what Warren is what I'm saying is that it's like, well, I'm going to work, time to turn you off and send you into an unknown oblivion of non-existence for a few hours. Like that would
Do
be
sex
horrible.
robots dream of electric sheep? That's the real
That
question.
is the question.
So I think it's important to build a sex robot that has an off button.
Data has an off switch, guys. Like if Data has an off switch, surely your sex bot should have one.
So if we're like actually answering this question, the first thing that popped in my head, Michael, was just that like as soon as like there's a difference that I can't get over, like she's like not a fan of The Simpsons or something. I'm like, well, what's the point of like?
You built this robot in the scenario.
She's chastising me for reading comic books. Well, I don't know. I don't think I would be able to build a robot. That's not. I built a robot, I would not touch it because like I like know my own crafting abilities and like
it just.
Okay,
robots held together with chewing gum and tape. It's just gonna fall apart.
Yeah, mostly tape.
There's a lot of exposed wires in that interior.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go there for a minute with it. So I think the answer is for me, and it doesn't have to be an answer for you. It's like there's a moment before you get caught with it, or before it becomes a part of your identity, and that moment is probably like that's the moment that people really want, is that one moment with this thing. And is it great? Is it, what is that experience defined like? And if it's a sexual replacement for a partner, then it's like, well, how long do you do this until people become aware of it? Because I think you'd want to hide this for as long as possible because you don't want to be judged for it.
Right.
And then if you get to the judgment phase, then it's like, are you capable of being a person that also has a sex robot and then has regular friendships, relationships? Because I think that then the challenge is, if people are aware that there is this amazing sex robot that you have for some reason, do people try to steal this robot from you? Or do they leave you alone? I mean, because you're judged by society regardless for that decision. So it's like,
that's why
then
April's
what?
So strong, right?
What?
That's why April's so strong, to fight off all the people that would potentially steal her, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
there's a whole section of her programming which is defend Warren.
Right. I guess they've made the decision that she's programmed to be with him, so there's no way you can deprogram that. So that's just the story. So I guess if it's programmed to be with you, then it's creepier because, how do you turn that off when you don't want it on and have a relationship, which Warren is unable to do because he also hasn't learned social skills. Oh, man, Warren.
Yeah, he does tell his girlfriend, his human girlfriend, just to like shut up, or whatever, when she's like asking questions.
Yeah. She is too good for him by a country mile. Like,
yeah, for sure.
So, Michael, you want to like introduce your robot girlfriend to all your friends, though? I mean, that's kind of rude. Like, you wouldn't imagine that scenario.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think the question you're not asking yourselves is the robot boyfriend / girlfriend, are they annoying? Right? Because you're like, oh, if somebody finds out you've got a robot girlfriend or boyfriend, they're going to think less of you. I mean, like, the world is crazy right now. Do you know how many worse things someone could find out about you or that you could post on social media? I think having a robot boyfriend and girlfriend would not be that bad. But like the deal breaker always is that like, with your friends is that person annoying or not annoying to your friends, right? Whenever you have like a new girlfriend or boyfriend, they're like, do they like him or her? Right. That's my deal breaker.
How advanced is their conversation programming? Can they be on our podcast?
That's true.
Yeah. Let's build a podcast robot.
Podcast robot, I guess, is just the amalgamation of random people that have been on the podcast and the four of us, and then it just produces a comment related to Buffy, like randomly.
Well, they've made like AIs that like write like screenplays or like different like shows and things. Like, I'm surprised no one's like taken podcasts and been like, okay, AI, make a podcast for like said show or something.
Have opinions about this episode.
We should definitely do this. We should do the AI script for a podcast bot and then just like trigger it. And like if there's a quiet moment.
Yoder, you got a question?
I do. Okay, so Dawn and Giles, their boy talk. What's that like? And also, I would like to see possible fanfic of Buffy and Joyce and Giles, like all, and Dawn as well. Like, just throw Giles in the mix of any boy talk. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, totally. I mean, supposedly she's going to be talking about how her crush on Xander was superseded by her crush on Spike, which is superseded by Spike being terrible. And then Giles has to be like, yes, he is.
Yes.
I hope Giles is like, don't get a crush on me. I'm an adult. Leave me alone.
I mean, I assume Dawn knows people outside of this show. She does go to school and stuff. Right?
Yes.
Hopefully she has some age appropriate crushes.
What trip did they go on, John? Didn't
That's
they go
right.
on some
They
trip?
went on a trip to Mexico for Spanish class. So, who knows what happened? What happens in Mexico happens in Spanish.
Es muy picante. So I have a question. And so everybody put your eye to the camera, and time is part of your time is part of this, so be quick. While walking along in the desert sand, you suddenly look down and see a tortoise crawling towards you. You reach down and flip it over onto its back. The tortoise lies there. Its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it cannot do so without your help. You are not helping. Why? Time is a factor.
Time is a factor in our answer, or
Yes.
You are hungry. You want to eat the tortoise.
I was going to say I'm letting the turtle get a suntan on its belly, I guess.
You have all failed the Voight-Kampf test.
Why would I turn over a turtle and be so cruel? Like, that doesn't...
I think John is the only one who gets my joke.
It's from Blade Runner, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just the test to see if you're, a robot.
What's the answer?
The
There's no
answer is that you have to be an empathetic
Yeah.
person and not let this happen. This is abnormal.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you're like acting too empathetic, then you're also
Right.
like.
Yeah,
Was
we
I
should all
was
start.
I not empathetic enough? Or I wasn't very empathetic. I was just
No,
like,
you
you
s-
need to eat the turtle.
Proper reaction would be to start crying. Only then can Dennis know you're human.
It's The
my
tests to
God.
prove you're human are actually like really hard to pass, like because because robots are smart.
Oh, man. Dennis, are we really going to do this next question?
No, that's just another of the Voight-Kampf tests.
Okay.
So
It's just really intense.
I think by
do it
being
next.
intimidated by it, you pass. You're a human.
Yeah.
Do it
you want me to
next
tell
week.
you about my mother?
We'll do it next week. Great. That's the perfect episode to talk about that.
So let's move on to themes of deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
So, here's my. I have some questions here. I think one of the things that the show asks is like, what are the ethics of building a sex bot? There's a sense that we feel a lot of sympathy for April because she was constructed only to serve someone, and then she has her whole reason for being removed when she can't do that anymore. But setting aside the possibility that she may actually have some kind of consciousness or internal life, do you think it's do you think that there should be an ethics around how we treat robots?
I think that's an interesting question, John. Because I was going to bring up with this question, like, are we talking about creating a AI with actual consciousness or not?
Right.
And like by failing the Turing test, April shows she doesn't have consciousness, but that's assuming that the Turing test is actually a measure of consciousness,
Right.
Which it seems to be proving it's not, as like we get less theoretical and more into real world.
But do you think I think there's a question even by the fact that like April is in human shape and talks and sort of even though she's obviously not a person, does it degrade us to treat her badly? Even if she's not capable of suffering, are we less moral just by treating this human analog badly? Does that do something bad to us, even if she's like, and I guess it's sort of a similar question is like, does it do something to you to play violent video games all day long, to sort of like treat human analogs badly?
Yeah, I was also thinking like this is a video game question also.
Yeah.
And I guess it's interesting because I'd say personally, I feel like it's a test that if you're cruel to a robot, you're a cruel person. But I'm also of the camp of like video games do not cause violence.
Right.
But I also think there's something deeply human about having periods in your life or at times where you need to act violently, and it's better to do that in a safe, escapist fashion, like a video game, than to a real person or to a real animal. And I don't think that makes you a bad person to have these feelings you want to express. It's better to find a healthy way to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think the greater danger is not seeing a difference, maybe, or like having it like lead to being like, well, since like killing someone in a video game is okay, now I'm gonna go do that. I mean, like that's not how people usually think, though.
No, but I guess
I'm also one of those people who there's that Telltale Games Walking Dead, and I've been killed by the first zombie multiple times because I try to hit it in the head as little as possible to not scare the girl I'm protecting.
You're like, oh, poor zombie.
No, it's just like I don't want to. Well, not the zombie, but I don't want to freak out this other character too much. So I don't want her to,
I think there's a couple different things you're asking there, John. I think number one, I think video game violence does not translate to real world gun violence. So we are U.S. based. We need gun control. So there's no proof that the video game violence will lead to gun violence. But I think you bring up this sex bot. There's two things. One, how you treat something that is indistinguishable from being alive, even though they're a robot. But if it's indistinguishably visually from life, I think there's one way to treat that. Two, it's interesting when you create a sex bot because that purpose is to interact in a bot to fulfill a biological life function, versus if you created a robot that was not for a specific life cycle function, like you create a robot that just painted or a robot that just was an astronomer or something like that. I think that's like maybe different ethics would come under that, And so I think there's a couple different things there. But yeah, I think if you harmed a robot that would look indistinguishable from a human, I think that would reflect poorly on you.
Okay.
Even if you knew it was a robot.
A follow-up question. In this episode, Spike asks Warren to build a robot in the image of Buffy, right? And we don't see where that goes yet, but what are the ethics of that? So like, does it change the map a little bit from everything we just talked about if it's in the image of a real person? So like if I create a replica or an image, even if it's a photograph of a person I know or of a real person, and then I treat the photograph badly, like I burn it in effigy or I don't know.
Yeah, let's not describe.
I don't know. I'm just saying, is there violence in that? Like if I treat an image of a real person badly, even if that person never finds out, that feels wrong. Like just like subjectively, like that feels wrong to me. But I have a hard time necessarily thinking about why. Like, Spike, arguably, just to echo your like thing about video games, Dennis, like arguably, Spike may have found here, someone could say, a healthy outlet for his creepy obsession. And then if he can leave Buffy alone, if this works so he can leave Buffy alone, that might be a net good. On the other hand, it just feels so wrong. It feels absolutely creepy and terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing private citizens should have is a right to their own image, right? And that's something tech companies make you sign away your rights to, right? When you like sign up to Facebook or something, like any image you post, they have some sort of like right to spread or to use. But the reason like we have to even sign that way is because ethically it feels like we should have some form of ownership over our own image and say over what our image is used for, right? That's the ethic argument about like CGIing dead celebrities to like, be holograms or to be on like commercials or whatever. So there, I think there is definitely some expectation to privacy of your own image, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's to create it in someone else's image, I think is wrong.
What were you about to say, Michael? I'm sorry.
No, I agree that with what Dennis just said. Yes, I think we should all own our own image. I think that was really well stated. That's perfect. But Buffy, so there's a couple things, right, with the sex robot, right? So first of all, is it wrong for Spike to have a bot, or like a robot that fulfills sexual function. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm okay with Spike having some kind of fulfillment. Is it okay then if it looks like Buffy? It looks like someone he knows. I think everyone's answer is generally no, because that person has a right to their own image. But, Spike was creating, his own version of that before. It just was very sloppy.
Right.
So like, I don't think it does Buffy any harm. Now, if Spike were then to sell those robots, then like that would be a serious, and that'd be super fucked up. I think to create a version of someone to have sex with, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it feels icky, like it's gross and emotionally repulsive, but it's not wrong. I mean, if that person discovers it and they're aghast, don't want to be friends with you, guess what? No one wants to be friends with Spike anyway. There's no social consequences for him doing the most fucked up thing you can imagine because no one cares about him. Now, for Warren to do that, then Warren is giving this creep what he wants, probably under the implicit, threat of death or violence. So, like, I think Warren has to create it or he's going to be messed with. So I think Warren's under duress. He's not responsible for the thing that, Spike ultimately gets. That's a Spike problem. But like, yes, it's gross and that would totally fuck up your friendships, but no one cares in those cases. So it's like, yes, you can make a sexual replica of someone, but there will be consequences that are unknown social consequences. If you sell that shit though, you should go to jail.
Only private sex bots.
Yeah. Of whatever you want. I mean, it could be a centaur, it could be a celebrity, doesn't matter.
Oh,
but
it's
if you
true.
sell it.
As soon as the day after this technology hits, like the very next day is going to be centaurs. Somebody's going to want to build.
Why are we
I
going
want
to
a centaur, but not to
man?
fuck. I just want a centaur. That'd be awesome. That would be a good friend to watch Simpsons with, and maybe clean up my apartment some when I'm at work or something. Like, hell yeah.
I'm just saying that because I was recently reading, scrolling through a bunch of fan fiction, and I came across a bunch of like Centaur AU for Kirk and Spock.
Not even a centaur. Sorry.
Are they both centaurs or is just
Yeah,
one
they're
of
both
them?
centaurs. Yeah.
Oh, weird. I prefer where only one is a centaur.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems worse. But who am I to judge? I didn't read it, so it may be brilliant literature. I don't know.
I was going to say I want a Mr. Tumnus, but then I realized like maybe I would eventually become attracted to Mr. Tumnus, and that would probably lead to bad places. So. Just revealing a lot about myself here on this sex robot podcast.
Let's move on to the next entry in our themes and deep stuff.
So I just think it's a weird lesson that Buffy is supposed to learn from April, that like she doesn't need to rely on a man. And the writer in the commentary kind of said like that's the journey that she's on in this episode too. So it's not just my reading of it. But it's like, I just don't think she really, entrusted Riley much with emotional support. Anyway, it's like, she's pretty independent. She has her friends and her family for support. It's like, she doesn't need a boy. Like,
Yeah, it seems like a lesson she's already learned by this point in the show, but I don't know.
Like,
Sometimes you got to relearn lessons, I guess.
It does maybe make sense if she's like kind of on a negative spiral on herself, just because like it's a post breakup and like this person chose to left me. What's wrong with me? But like that's never really stated as like what she's analyzing. You know what I mean? And she maybe gets to tell April all the things she wanted to hear, retroactively, like after the breakup, that it's like, everything.
Yeah. And I think there's some symbolism in watching April sort of die. It's that part of Buffy is maybe kind of like part of Buffy that's just waiting for Riley is maybe dying too.
Ah, nice, John. Yeah, it to me it really feels like a earlier version of Buffy that Buffy's already moved past, but people backslide, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Buffy gets it. Like that's why Buffy's like sympathetic. Like she understands that like the way that relationships can sometimes make your sense of self sort of contingent. And she immediately gets that and empathizes with it. But maybe also like punches it in the face.
Yeah.
It could also just be that like a basic TV trope that like to have a fully fulfilled life, you need to be in a relationship with someone, like have a partner in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, you're a weirdo if you're out there on your own or something.
Yeah, which is like almost some very weird shade like Tara is throwing this episode, which almost feels out of character for her to be like, isn't it sad when somebody can't find somebody? Like come on.
Yeah, that feels like they didn't know who to give that line to, maybe.
Yeah. John, what's this link to ethics and STEM?
Oh, I just was thinking about this while we were talking. This is really, I just read this article. This mathematician, Hannah Fry, who I know from YouTube. She is on the YouTube channel Numberphile, which if you like learning about math in a YouTube way where you don't actually have to do anything, you just listen to people talk about math in a sort of excited way. Anyway, she's on that YouTube channel a lot, and she's really, really she's great. But she is recently sort of started publicly advocating for this idea that just like doctors, mathematicians and scientists and computer engineers should start taking some version of the Hippocratic Oath. And just maybe think about how in a lot of fields there's no, like, ethics is just not on the map. And this episode is, it's obviously it's science fiction, and the idea of the mad scientist is a little bit made up, but it's also we do a little bit live in a world made by mad scientists now. Like maybe like we should be thinking about educating these people on ethics in the same way we do doctors.
Yes, we need ethics for software developers. It should be required to become a licensed software developer to take either a course in ethics or some kind of renewed license. That's so essential, and it's completely missing. Yes, please. Yeah. I mean, that's how we get this broken capitalist version of software development where everything's like, well, but can it make money, right? And it's like, do we have to live in the worst version of capitalism too, where like this amazing technology gets used for the worst possible ends because no one wants to take a fucking math or an ethics test? Jesus.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, thanks, John. That seems like a good place to end Themes and Deep Stuff. We're pro ethics and STEM. And with that, let's move on to why we need ethics and STEM. Recommendations.
Recommendations.
So there's like so many like robot movies to choose from. It was really hard to like narrow things down. And I want, after me and Yoder give our movie recommendations, I want John to just quickly drop some Star Trek episodes also. But I'm going to start with the 2015 movie Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland, who did Annihilation, which is amazing. And he also wrote the book The Beach, which we were talking about The Beach off podcast recently. So this movie's 2015. It's robot. It's like an AI, a robot, and whether it can pass the Turing test. And it's dark and strange and beautiful. It is one of the only movies I've ever seen where a crazy choreographed dance increases the tension instead of relieving any of it. It's really good. Yeah. I'm also going to recommend the 2007 movie Lars and the Real Girl, starring Ryan Gosling, where he's a loner who falls in love with a sex doll. There's no AI in this movie, but it's about the like loneliness and the personification of dolls. And it's got some good acting, and it's an interesting movie. And I haven't seen it in a few years, but the last time I saw it, like, made me cry. I don't know if it would do that again, but I felt there's a good like brothers, like sibling relationship that's like really strong throughout the movie. So I recommend that. And I'm 100% sure I've recommended Blade Runner before, even though I didn't see it in recommendations. But it, I know I had to have recommended Blade Runner at some point. So instead, I will recommend Blade Runner 2049. Was that 2018 or 2017?
Yeah, 2018.
It was really good. Has excellent robot having a robot girlfriend, and reading more into like your AI relationship than is maybe there, or like you're applying a lot of consciousness to machines in that movie.
Is it weird for me to say the holographic girlfriend is like my favorite character from that movie? But
She's awesome, and it's a really interesting thing of like he reads too much into it, like that he basically finds out he's fallen in love with the basic model because he's a basic model himself, you know.
Also stars Ryan Gosling. It's a Ryan Gosling heavy recommendation list.
Didn't even think about that.
And my final rank, I'm going to recommend the 1927 silent German expressionist Metropolis, which if you haven't seen, you really need to see. If you live in a college town, they will be playing it in a theater at some point this year, and see it in a theater with a live orchestra if you can. And there's a mad scientist who builds a robot that then gets a human face, and so that's why it connects. And the human looking robot drives the world to chaos with her erotic dances, which are hilarious to watch it because they are like somebody who had never seen dances before trying to film what a sexy dance could possibly look like. But the movie's amazing. Obviously, it deserves like all the hype it gets. So those are my recs. Yoder.
Okay, so my first recommendation is the movie Mumford from 1999. It's I think written and directed by Jake Kasdan, the son of Lawrence Kasdan, but it's about this guy that like goes to a small town and pretends to be a psychiatrist, and he has no license or training. His like reasoning is that like people just always talk to him about their problems, which like I think a lot of people do that with other people. But anyway, it's a good movie. I haven't seen it in like 10 years though, I feel. But the reason I'm recommending it is because of Jason Lee's character, who's like a tech giant that has like, he's like kind of giving a lot of jobs to this small town. But his like secret side project is that he's building a sex robot, and he kind of has altruistic reasons like for like to help people that are lonely out in the world and stuff. But also he's just terrified to talk to women himself, which, you know, so that's what that movie is. What were you going to say, John?
Oh, just I really like Mumford. It's a really weird movie tonally because it's basically a rom-com. Like it's shot like a rom-com. The dialogue is very rom-com style. And then the sex robot thing is like we can't talk about it without blowing it, spoiling it, because that's why we're talking about it. But it's such a twist that comes through in like it's like in the third reel where like Jason Lee's character is suddenly like, I'm building a sex robot. You're like, there's no science fiction in this film up to this point. It's just it's such a weird moment.
That is a spoiler. Yeah, I should have said beforehand because it's not in the trailer. And like there is like something going on with Jason Lee's character. You just think he's kind of like weird and he likes to skateboard and stuff, but like then it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Like,
yeah. That's yeah. I also didn't watch that movie for like 10 years. I downloaded it, got it this year, watched it this year. And I will say that like all rom-coms, there are things about it that don't age well. Like it has some gender politics that I think should be troubled, but it's a great movie.
I think no matter what, the fact that even though he wasn't a licensed psychiatrist, that he was pretending to be, and he ends up like falling romantically in love with one of his patients.
Yes.
Like that.
Speaking of
like that's something that's kind of like a no deal. Like that's everything right there. Yeah. And then my other recommendation is Metropolis 2001 anime, which there was a manga, I think, by the same guy that did like Astro Boy. I'm pretty sure. Tezuka, and like they turned into anime. I don't know. I like it a lot, and I just like my obvious choice was the original Metropolis, and I'm glad Dennis picked that. But like this would be a good companion. The thing I thought of late in the game that maybe I'll add to the list here is just when we were talking up front is Alita Battle Angel, the movie that came out last year. And I think, you know, she's a robot girlfriend, but it doesn't have the same ickiness problems, I guess, that like a lot of things do when dealing with that. And I was going to say too, for Mumford, maybe that is a thing to look at for how the main character reacts to Jason Lee when he can like let his friend know, you know, that this is what he's doing. When we get to the point that everyone has, or robot girlfriends are out in the world, it's like how to react to your friend that tells you that that's the case or something.
I want to say something about Alita Battle Angel for a second, though, because it's a robot daughter and a robot girlfriend.
Yes, it checks both the boxes.
Yeah, it's awesome in that way. But yeah, it is a little less icky.
Technically, she's got a human brain or alien brain, so.
Well, that helps then. Yeah.
Right. So it's just a body. It's the brain itself is. Yeah, then you're covered. Thank you, Dennis. That's why it's not icky.
Well, it's
Brain is
also
human.
like one of the funny loops that movie gives to make it less icky is like the original scientist gives the Alita like his daughter's body, right? And it's like a childish body. And then her next body is like more adult, but she like is able to like upgrade it herself. So it's not like the scientist gave her boobs. She gave herself boobs.
The nanite technology or whatever did it. Yeah, I don't know why that, like, why can't we just start from the point that she's a grown adult instead of like, anyway.
Anime.
Yeah, this is maybe a weird way to end this episode. Sorry.
Can I talk about Star Trek?
Yeah, please.
I mean, this is
Hey,
getting.
Canny, please.
Sorry, recommendations is running longer than ever, but I'm going to just continue on. So the Star Trek episodes that come up for this, off the top of my head, obviously in the original series, you have Nomad, which is the episode where you have a robot who is like trying to find the man who created it, and it's creating all this havoc, destroying things in its path, trying to find the creator. I am Nomad. That's a classic. That's really good. In the Next Generation, you have Measure of a Man, which is the absolutely classic episode where Data's put on trial for to see if he has civil rights, basically. And it's just a question of ethics of how we treat robots. Does that, at what point is a robot become a person? That's absolutely classic and one of the all-time just pieces of Patrick Stewart acting ever. It's so good. But then the best one, I think, for this is the episode In Theory, which is a later Next Generation episode that doesn't always get enough credit. It's directed by Patrick Stewart, and this is the one where Data has a girlfriend. And so it's this same story of, sort of a robot significant other, but it's told, because we know Data, it's sort of more from his point of view. So you sympathize with Data's side of it because he's like working on himself, trying to become more human so that he can have a relationship. And he actually just fails. Like he's a really bad boyfriend at the end of it. And she breaks up with him. And the end of the episode is he just like, spoilers, I guess. The end of the episode is he just like deletes his boyfriend program and he just goes back to everything being normal instantly. And it's really creepy because like the whole time the whole arc of Data is he's becoming more and more human and he feels more human than most of the characters on Star Trek. But then in this one moment, this is like really harsh reminder that he's just a robot because he just like deletes his boyfriend program. And good episode.
Hello, Spot. All right. Those are good recs. I think every single segment is going along this episode. Maybe we're just in a silly mood. But let's move on to predictions.
Virgin predictions.
So should I provide the context here?
Yeah, Yoder, please provide the context for what's about to happen right now.
So if you might remember the Superstar universe where I was in control, I found in regards to Michael's predictions that David was, trying to help him score a point for one of his previous predictions that you guys denied. So that's what this is.
This is another glimpse into the other universe where Yoder's in charge.
I see. So shall I roll the clip?
Yeah.
We have this long-standing prediction, Michael, that you said that the next time Buffy gets good advice from an adult other than Giles or Joyce, that adult will die in that episode. Now, the question to me here is this good advice and is Spike an adult?
I think it is good advice. I don't think Spike is an adult in the sense of like, he's not, even though he's like, almost 200 years old now.
Right.
He's definitely not like a generation above Buffy, which is, I think, how we've defined adulthood, even though like Buffy's an adult now.
Spike's not an adult. He smokes, he drinks. I mean, he's not a minor.
Okay, I mean, you could literally interpret it that way, Dennis. But I mean like a human adult, not a superhuman, not a monster, all right? I mean like an adult that is not a monster gives advice.
Michael, what are you doing? I'm trying to help you here.
All right, so that's the first clip from Full for Love, season 5, episode 7, which I think was the first time it was brought up about that prediction.
Okay.
And then there's another clip from the next episode.
Swear to God, this prediction will haunt our entire podcast.
We have one from season 3, episode 4. The next time Buffy gets good advice from an adult other than Giles or Joyce, that adult will die in this episode. Now, this hinges on whether or not we believe that Ben the intern has given Buffy good advice. Travis, our resident medical expert, is clearly in the camp that he did not give Buffy good advice. Dennis, on the other hand, you believe that it was good advice.
Yeah, I say within the context of the show, within what they wrote, the writers wanted this to be good advice. Obviously, the writers are not medical experts, but they were writing advice like from the point of view of the emotions of Buffy. So I think it was good advice.
His advice is go for a walk. It's not advice.
No, it was definitely good advice. It's definitely advice.
I guess this hinges on John. John's going to be our decider. Also, how many times are we going to let this play out? Because I feel like we've already used this once.
This one is a tricky one that we should have thought about when it was written. Should have thought about the warning a little more critically, because it really does hinge on this question of good advice and what constitutes good advice. And whether or not this is an adult. I mean, I suppose he seems to be only slightly older than Buffy.
Everybody's an adult now.
Yeah, I think everybody's an adult.
What? You just said last episode that Spike wasn't an adult. Now you're saying everybody's an adult?
I think this is good advice. I think that, again, I'm thinking from Dennis's point of view, I agree with what he's saying, that what's important is that the show considers it good advice. From the point of view of sort of the writers of the show, that this is considered to be good advice. It's meant to endear us to this character and show that he cares about Buffy on some level. So I think this one's denied because he didn't die this episode.
I swear to fucking God.
And so then we follow this one up again in the next episode. Is that right?
And this one, I don't know if it connects directly to that prediction, but it was when you were talking, or we were talking, because I was there. We all remember. About the literalness of the predictions and how those are taken.
Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to have to vote confirm on this, only because I feel like I have it coming. I feel like I've been difficult on language so many times that I really have no right to complain and talk about the spirit of the law at this point. So on those grounds.
But you realize by doing this, John, you're going for a full literal interpretation, right? That this is setting a precedent of literal interpretations.
We're operating on that precedent that's been set for the previous 4 seasons.
We are already operating on a literal interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. It's based on precedent that I want to make this call.
What about the literal interpretation of Spike giving good advice? I mean, and he dies that episode, and the flashback was when he's turned to a vampire. Also, if we're being literal, the prediction says adult, not human adult, Michael.
So that's my evidence for my case on maybe giving Michael that 1 point back here.
This is the zombie prediction.
Who is this strange angel?
Well, I figured I should use my
First of all,
cards
how dare you point out that in one episode I say something and then I directly contradict it at the very next episode. How dare you?
Yeah, I feel like you guys will get through next week fine because you just had to listen to 5 minutes of yourself like talking. So that's probably like the most painful thing you'll have to do ever. Yeah.
This is just the most haunting prediction. Like, it causes so much stress behind the scenes.
Never get rid of this No, anyway, that was the case that I was trying to make. I think because I was doing a catch up because I kind of like fallen back on watching the episodes because I still feel like I need to watch Angel and I haven't been, and it's just like it's too much. But seeing everything, like over the past week, condensed, I kind of saw these contradictions here.
Well, John is in charge of predictions, so this is all laid on him.
Are you going to issue a formal pardon, or are you going to issue a new ruling based upon? Is Mike going to bring the case to the Supreme Court, which is what I'm going to call the five of us?
Okay. Do you guys actually want to talk about this old prediction?
Can we
I really don't, but we're doing it. So.
can we reframe this conversation again? So what is the original prediction again? What are we debating? Because I feel like it got a little bit muddied in the prediction clips.
Sorry.
Good call, Mike.
So the prediction was next time Buffy gets good advice from an adult, that adult will die.
Right.
Yoder's argument is that Spike gave good advice in that episode, and in that episode we saw William die and become Spike.
Right, which
So,
happens
by
before
the very
advice in story time, or like after it as we watch the episode, but it's a flashback, right? So it happens before in sort of diegetic time.
But in film time, it takes place after, right?
Right.
Because the advice comes and then he dies, though it's in the past.
Right.
And that's this crazy literal interpretation, but we do literal interpretation. So that's one. The other piece of advice was the Ben advice, but that's a later episode, and that's the one we were using previously.
We're done on the Ben advice. We're not talking about that.
I know
Please.
we're not. We're done.
That's the denial, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're only done
to-
with the denial if we want to be done with the denial.
You guys were ready to give him the point almost, but then it was hinging on the fact is Spike an adult? And then like you guys were like, no.
Yeah, I argued at the time Spike's not an adult. But then the next episode I was like, Ben is an adult because everybody's an adult now.
Right. I do see the
I was
contradiction
being
there.
contradictory. Yeah.
This has taught me so much. This whole experience.
Has it though? What?
To everyone out there listening, do never make a list of predictions with your friends.
That's a very narrow piece of good advice.
I think it's taught me, you know that part in books where they have introductions where they define terms and you're like, oh, why are they defining this stuff? Get to the part of the book that is interesting. And it's like, oh yeah, to avoid ambiguity. And like we almost never define terms. And so we have constant ambiguity, but also people, the truth is ambiguous.
It's almost more like a translator's note. Like if it was in another language first and then like translated into English to be like, now the meaning of the text was this, but I've transposed it to say, like brother instead of friend or something. And
well, I mean, I guess the other problem is like we started out with like knowing like the realization that the truth can be somewhat ambiguous or can depend on your perspective. But then the case law of Buffy Virgin podcast has become a literal interpretation of the law.
Right.
So we built up a body of case law.
Well,
Okay,
we
true.
couldn't
and I
write.
think I'm the one who's always arguing for spirit of the law. Or actually, I don't think I'm even that consistent. I'm always arguing for Mike is
whatever.
wrong.
Yeah, you're just arguing against me. No, you just you have this idea that this is more interesting as a show if I'm wrong more. So it's great. I like that.
And then John argues for a literal interpretation of the law, and then I argue for this show is more interesting if Mike is right more often.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
you guys are good judges then because you each have different points of view.
Well, the problem is John and Dennis side with each other.
And John runs the predictions. So when the judge is, impartial or already partial rather, we couldn't write Buffy, but we could all be Fox News pundits. This would be a brilliant.
Yeah, we got the split screen already and the shouting. Okay. So
Can we just do a straight up and
I think
up or
we just
down
do a
with the
straight up or
thumbs?
down vote on this. Thinking
And
back,
Yoder gets a vote.
Yes, Yoder gets a vote because he brought it to us.
Sure. He
But
authored the
then there's
appeal.
going to be possible tie.
We could have a tie. We'll see.
Well,
what
we'll
happens.
just if the thing is if you have a tie, then the previous ruling holds.
That's right.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so thinking just about the Spike instance first. Let's just do that first. Does the Spike instance constitute good advice from an adult?
Who then dies?
Who then dies? Oof. Okay, I think I got it. I think. So that's a tie.
All right, the previous ruling holds.
Previous ruling holds. Now thinking about Ben. Does
Oh my
Ben
God.
give
We talking about Ben?
I
good
wasn't
advice?
debating that vote was wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, then fine. All right. So the ruling stands, in which case we may just edit all of this out. This is a
Nothing
bit,
yeah,
changes.
this episode's already long. You
it's
don't
getting
need
a
to
bit
go.
navel-gazing. Okay.
Can I my comment about this, I feels like based on this, the invention of a legal system is fucking inevitable to solve disputes, because the sense of injustice is so profound that people feel that you have to create an impartial system. It's an inevitable fucking solution. Jesus.
A fourth option, because we've gone over this so many times or whatever, but instead of the old ruling standing, since it was a tie, we could put it to a Twitter poll and let people vote on it to decide. But that is rather convoluted.
I think if it was a more important prediction, like if it was,
I also don't think the audience has expressed any care about this at all.
Yeah,
it's just all us.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, sorry to go back down that rabbit hole again, you guys.
No, that was lovely. I think we should cut it from the podcast, though, but this is really fun. I think cutting it, because I think this is inviting, because when we had the other prediction gate a while back, I don't think people cared about that decision when we did that one too long.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting even what that one was.
A lot. I don't know. I enjoyed
the last one we got into a big
then,
tiff over was the does Xander have sex with a monster he doesn't know is a monster?
Oh gosh, yes. Okay, that one was great. You know what?
Which I believe that one's still open.
Keep it in for Yoder. He's a fan of the show. He represents a significant percentage of our audience.
He put the effort in, yeah.
Okay. All right. Starting predictions proper for this episode. Michael, at present, with 157 confirmations and 91 denials under your belt, your accuracy is at a 63.89 for the entire show. And looking at season 5 in isolation, you are at a 67.86. So let's see how we can move those numbers this episode. There's going to be some things that we could talk about this episode that I think are going to be better talked about in the next episode for the body. So we're going to leave some things off, but we have one that's, I think, very unambiguous. In season 2, episode 11, Michael, you predicted 2 words, more robots, which we have. We have more robots.
This has got to be so far in the series, the longest time between prediction made and prediction confirmed.
It feels that way. It definitely feels that way.
Congratulations, Mike, on that one.
It was inevitable. More robots.
How long will the episode be at the end of the series to close out all of the open predictions?
It's going to have to be its own episode. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. Okay. This is one that I want to talk about now because I feel like we should just get this out of the way. Michael, you predicted just a couple episodes ago, Ben and Glory are the same person, which I think was already a pretty safe bet at the time, but I think can we just go ahead and confirm this now?
What are you talking about?
I mean, predicted.
What are you talking about? I don't remember anything from this.
Like one moment,
so Mike
Buffy
made
was
this.
talking
Yeah, Mike
to
made
Ben,
this prediction,
and then another moment, Glory was talking to Ben.
right? Mike
Or
made
Glory
this
was talking
prediction.
to,
Yeah, Ben and Glory are
Buffy.
the same person.
I mean, it was weird that Ben was like in Glory's apartment stretching out her dress, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're subletting from maybe they're roommates. I don't know.
Okay, so this one we're just going to leave open then?
Sounds like it.
Okay. All right, so with one confirmation, Michael, your score has shifted for the show overall, has shifted from a 63.89 to a 64.03. And your score for this season in isolation has shifted from a 67.86 to a 68.97.
Great. I have some new predictions.
Hooray! I was hoping you would.
Yep, it's exponential, folks. First, Amy the rat. Eventually, she'll become human, but Amy the rat has not been keeping up with school. So I think that when she does become human, she may have learned
to get her GED.
She may have learned some magic by living with Tara and Willow or whatever, or like being around people. The Buffy crew. She's going to know about the Buffy people, but she has not been keeping up with school.
Sorry, why are we getting a Amy the rat prediction here? What prompted this?
I think I wanted to make some April predictions, but I think she's gone. And I know I've got some Amy the rat stuff on the books, and I didn't want to make more predictions about Joyce. I feel like I have enough of those right now. But as I was thinking about her situation, that's all. I mean, it's
Okay.
part of my brain is, there's a lot of stream of consciousness, guys. So sorry about that. Okay, so the next one, I think Spike's Buffy bot will malfunction. This is inevitable. Whatever the robot is created, we've just seen a really crappy robot made. Guess what? This next one's going to be bad too. Spike's Buffy bot will malfunction. Third prediction, Buffy will fight the Buffy bot. Come on. There's Buffy versus Buffy. It'll be so much fun. We can't not have it happen.
What do you think? This is Star Trek or something?
I don't even know why they have to set it up with this girlfriend episode. They could just have the Buffy bot show up. Dawn will play with a Spike doll that she has made.
Oh, sorry.
So I feel like
That was
Dawn has
very
learning some
unpoker
bad
face.
lessons from Spike. I think give her a Spike doll. I'll just say she'll play with a Spike doll. She may not have made it. Like, you guys are going to say, like, that's not a doll. That's just a vague representation. Dawn will play with a Spike-like plaything.
Expanded.
Spike-like thing. Because she likes Spike, even though he's a bad choice for her.
I'd like to remind Michael the Virgin that we have just gone through a lengthy discussion about the literal interpretation of predictions. So
He's thinking about that. That's why we're getting Spike-like thing.
okay.
Spike-like object.
Not spiky. I don't understand.
Spike-inspired, Spike-influenced object. Okay. And then final prediction. This is the bonus prediction. Xander, as a contractor, using his contractor powers, will build a new tool for killing vampires. I feel like Xander, even though Buffy is like, kind of aware that Xander can make things, he will need to prove it to her in a more explicit way, not just by repairing shit. He's going to build some like cool super tool. It'll be a Q moment. It's going to be awesome. And I mean Q from James Bond. And he'll create like a rad tool for her to use to fight vampires.
I was thinking of like From Dusk Till Dawn. Is that kind of what you...
You know what? I'm changing that word from vampires. I'm going to say monsters because I've learned a few lessons.
Okay. Is that gonna? Which one of these is gonna be your super prediction, Michael?
The Xander will build a new tool for killing monsters.
Okay.
All right, awesome. I've been your host, Denis St John. That's Dennis with one N. I'm at Dennis Comics, DenisComix on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my books, Land of Many Monsters and Many More Monster Tales, and Amelia, Monsters and Girl book, wherever the internet is found. And if you're in Bethesda, Maryland in September, I'll be at SBX. And Yoder, what are you up to? Where can people find your stuff?
I'm on Twitter, as Awesome Yoder, one word. And I sometimes post movie review comics at David and David at themovies.wordpress.com. I've got like an example of that book behind me there, but
Check it out, folks.
I wish I was going to SBX. So have a lot of fun and say hello to mutual friends of mine or ours for me.
I will. All right. Mike, you're busy moving.
Yep. Been living in like mid-move for a few months now. So excited to finally do it.
John, how is your robot building going?
And got some new robot parts actually.
Awesome. So Trev, how's the doctoring?
It's all right.
All right, good. Everybody's doing well. So thank you one and all for listening and talking to us at Buffy Virgin. You can visit our website, buffyvirgin.com, for links to our blog, our YouTube, our Twitter, and our Instagram. Reach out. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to rate and review us on the podcast listener of your choice. Smash that subscribe button, all that crap. And we'll see you in hell.